All right, so the next one comes in from Anxious Anonymous. We got ooh. So wait, Anonymous. So is Anonymous the last name of everybody? If this
Yes.
is Anxious Anonymous,
Yeah, because like I would be, Liam Anonymous. You would be Tim Anonymous.
so
Brittany would
Anxious is
be
the first
Anxious
name.
Anonymous.
That's true. That's very true. I
So
mean,
so
or it could be what is it? China that it's backwards, right? For us, it's backwards.
yeah,
So
it's
like
yeah.
Weili Zhang, Zhang Weili, Weili Zhang. I don't know.
Hey, there you go. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. So Anxious Anonymous says, gonna try and keep this short and sweet. My boyfriend has major anxiety, and it pretty much comes on for no reason or any reason. It can be founded or unfounded. It's a constant thing that he has no idea how to control. How do I help him? Thanks. Well, Liam, I'm sure you have no experience with a partner with
No,
anxiety
not at
that
all.
comes on for no reason at all, but let's see if you can come up with some ideas.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. I don't know if it's just I think it's me being a psychopath. Like I don't get that kind of anxiety because no emotions, right? um, no, I think it's difficult because I think about with my wife, with Brittany, early on when we first started dating, I was still living in New York. So when we would want to see each other, it would have to be cross continental flights, which the very first time I flew out here and then we flew back to New York together, but then she had to fly back to California by herself. And she was super anxious and she struggled on those flights by herself. I want to say it was like a couple months after that, she was going to fly back out to New York and had like a panic attack the night before and could not make her flight. And at the time I was frustrated and I kind of had to reset. And I think like you helped me talk through this. And it was like kind of reset where it's like just because it's not something that I personally deal with doesn't mean that this isn't something that somebody else has to struggle to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And Brittany and I talked through because communication, and we realized that like it's tough, but I'm gonna have to be the one that flies out until one of us decides to move, and that was just the way the relationship was gonna have to progress. If it was worth it for me, for both of us, to continue that relationship, this was a facet of the relationship. The best things that I could do to try to calm her down is just to be there for her, like be calming, find different things, whether it's music, whether it's like conversation, putting on a movie. Nowadays when she starts to have a little bit of that built up anxiety and whatnot, we find that talking through it 100% is the best thing to do. And sometimes she'll still feel anxious about things after the fact, but it's usually lessened. It's a lot less the sense of an overwhelming weight on her. And with the shit that's going around in the country right now, we have to talk about a lot of these things. The stuff that we see on social media or popping up from various news sources. I think for her, sometimes it's frustrating because I'm very much the burn it all down and start over. So she is she's like, well, we can't do that. So let's talk through better options. And it's good because I think it helps both of us find a better equilibrium. So I've
Mm-hmm.
always said it's incredibly important for you to find a partner that is not an echo chamber where, yeah, you can be in agreement on a lot of things, but you do want to challenge each other to step outside of your box to some degree. And I think when one partner, if they are struggling with panic attacks or anxiety or, you know, any type of weight, like you could be claustrophobic, right? Any type of weight,
Mm-hmm.
you know, ask them what they need and then do your best to provide them with that. That's
Mm-hmm.
the way that I would look at it. How about for you, man? I know for you, your anxiety is probably not quite as bad as Brittany's, but I know sometimes your
No.
anxiety hits you like a fucking freight train.
I do have my anxiety is it's not something I've ever had like diagnosed or anything like that. I've
Yeah.
seen a therapist for years and years and years. And partially for the anxiety. And for me it's very similar, it sounds like, to your partner. for Anonymous. It's really similar to your partner's in that most of the time, I would say like 95% of the time, it's brought on by like nothing that I can discern, and even talking about things doesn't really necessarily help me, because I find that when I talk about things, I end up getting sometimes more anxious because I'm like none of this is like weighing on me. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
There's not this stuff that's like sitting in the background for me. Sometimes there is, but in general, it's just like I'm just feeling away. And for me, the anxiety can come on in a lot of different ways. Like a lot of the times I get really lightheaded. Not like I'm going to pass out lightheaded, but I will be walking around all day lightheaded. And it's disconcerting because I feel like I'm going to pass out. And I have like that, not quite tunnel vision, but like it's a little gray on the edges. It's really hard to explain. But that's how my anxiety presents. And often I have IBS as well. That's fun. So that will start to act up and stuff. But so I can relate, I think, in a lot of ways to your partner, your boyfriend. I think the problem with dealing with any kind of mental struggles, whether it be, you know, a mental disorder or just, you know, feeling anxiety or feeling sad or whatever it is, any kind of struggles that you're having, is it's so different for everybody. One, how it presents. Two, what brings it on. Three, how to handle it. And I think the only way to really, I guess, figure out what works is to figure out what works, which sounds so fucking stupid, but it's true. Like for me, I've had to work so hard to find the things that will work for me. And I could give somebody else with anxiety a list of the things that I do when I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, and none of them could work, or all of them could work. It's so different for every person. Sometimes it's really helpful when somebody will just look at me and go, you struggling right now? What's going on? And that act will be enough for me to be like, holy shit, yeah, I'm like really feeling a lot of something. Thank you for noticing. Like I feel kind of caught, right? Like I feel seen. Not in a way that like, I know I've got people around me that love me, that are there for me and absolutely see me. But like sometimes when you're feeling it and you almost don't even, you're not like consciously like, wow, I'm feeling anxiety. You're just going through the day and something's off and somebody's like, hey, you okay? You seem a little off. It can like help you go, oh shit. Wow. Okay. So I'm not, you know, going nuts. I'm just sitting here. I am struggling with something and it's manifesting, you know, outwardly, and people are seeing that. So for me, that can be helpful. So maybe sometimes when he's feeling that way, just for you to be like, hey, I know you're feeling that way and I'm really sorry. I'm here for you. Is there anything I can do to help? Or is there nothing I can do to help? Because sometimes I also find that when I'm feeling that way, if somebody is like, hey, let me do this thing, or like, you know, like I'm huge on touch. I love hugs. And if somebody like wants to hug me when I'm feeling anxious, a lot of times that's good. But sometimes when I'm feeling like this pressure to like feel better and somebody's like there for me and they're like hugging me, sometimes it's like smothering. It's very strange. My brain makes no sense. So again, it's so different how everybody handles this kind of thing. And I know, you know, Sarah feels a lot of anxiety a lot of the time as well. And what works some days doesn't work other days. And I think the biggest thing that you can do is, one, be understanding that it happens and that sometimes there's nothing. Two, not be pushy on like trying to be like, what did I do? Or what's wrong? Like, how can I fix this? Because sometimes it's not a thing that can be fixed. And three, just be patient. When my anxiety is like at normal anxiety levels, I can function, I can do normal things, I'm good. Sometimes though, I literally will have to like go up in my room, turn the lights off, close the door, lay in the dark and do nothing for like 5 minutes to a half hour and just pretend the world doesn't exist. And I will be better by the time I'm done, because for me with anxiety, a lot of stimulation makes it way worse. Normally, a lot of stimulation is fine. I'm generally fine. I have 2 ridiculously loud kids. I wonder where they got that from. You know, my house is generally loud as hell. I do a job where I'm freaking making mouth sounds in a booth all day. There's always noise going on in my life. I can handle it normally. But when I have really bad anxiety, it's way too fucking much. It's like the volume just got turned way up and like you desperately need it to be turned down. So, you know, sometimes he might just need the patience to just be like, hey, go do your thing. Be quiet. Be in a quiet room. Do nothing. Sometimes it's distraction, right? Have him, if he likes video games or playing music or watching sports or fucking jerking off or whatever it is, like, have him do that thing. Encourage him to do that thing. Be like, hey, you know that thing? Sometimes that helps. Go try and do that. But I guess the biggest thing I would say is don't make him feel like a piece of shit. Don't like put him down. Don't make him feel shitty. Don't be like, oh God, the anxiety again. Because I feel like that is, for a lot of people, just the number one thing that can make it way, way worse is if they feel like they're being a burden or they're somehow taking away from other people and making other people feel shitty. So yeah, I would say that's the big thing. And sometimes being aware, like for you, just being aware, like I know sometimes I'll text Brittany and just be like, hey, I just got the sense that I should check in on you. How's your anxiety? How you doing? And like, I know there's been a few times where she's been like, actually, I really needed that. You know, like, you know, we'll have a quick chat and she'll be like, yeah, I really needed that. So again, just one, to feel like he's seen will probably be helpful. And two, just for you to be like, what do you need? What can I do for you? If it's nothing, that's cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's a better way. And I love what you brought up at the end there is the pressure to have to feel better. This idea that you're like, well, I know there's something wrong with me and I need to get out of this funk. I need to improve, you know, because other people are going to look at me a certain way. And it's like, no, like sometimes it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it may take you a little bit longer to get out of it, or you may not get out of it for a while, but you know, that doesn't mean that you're less, right? It doesn't make you less of a person. It's just, this is something that you have to struggle through, but you will. And know that there are people there around you to help support you.
Yeah. And feel free to send him this if you feel comfortable with it. Like, you know, send him, you know, this video or, you know, the podcast episode and let him hear it so that he can hear, look, there's obviously hopefully he knows there are other people that feel the same way, that go through the same thing. But just sometimes it just feels good to know that that's the case and to know that you care and you want to help. Because your question was very much like, hey, how do I help him? I want to help him. And I'm sure that it will be beneficial. And also, again, it will be really beneficial for him to know that it's okay, like Liam said, to not be okay. There are times that there is nothing that anybody can do to make the anxiety go away. And a lot of times it's once I go to bed at night and I wake up in the morning, usually it's gone. Depends on how bad the anxiety is. I even get these things I call anxiety hangovers. And I've talked to a few other people that have them too, where the next day you don't feel the anxiety anymore, but you feel like you drank too much the last night. It's very weird. But again, you know, just letting it be there. If it's just going to be there, it's just going to be there, will be really helpful. And he won't feel pressured to be like, I better fix this or else, you know, my girlfriend is going to be upset. That'll be big. So,
heck yeah.
But I will add a disclaimer on the end of that to say, we're just a couple of assholes. We are not therapists. We're just talking about our life experience. Highly encourage therapy for both of you, if possible. Individual therapy. I think psychotherapy is something that is underutilized, especially by men, unfortunately, and it can be tremendously helpful, especially when you suffer with something like anxiety. So I would encourage that. And for you, it can be helpful just to, you know, get guidance on what to do. First off, what to do to keep yourself safe and protected. Not like he's going to do anything, but your emotions safe and protected when those times are happening. And also how you can be a better supporter for him. So that's what I would say.
Heck yeah.